Hello everybody, welcome back to an edition of the TeSys Island training. I'm your host, Leandro Mada, and in this video what we're going to see is the module called Starter. So let's go to the presentation. So you can see here we have a different kind of modules for the TeSys Island solution. In this particular video what we're going to cover is this one, which is the Starter. Okay, and the Starter, if we take a look at the next picture, basically will allow us to turn on and off the load. Okay, but what you need to know is that it's more than just a contactor. It's not a contactor, it's more than that. Okay, so it will allow us to turn on off the load that we have and also give us information about the protection of the load and also about the module. Okay, and if we have, for example, the voltage interface in our configuration, we will have additional data. Okay, but we will cover that. So, as I mentioned before, this starter has the possibility to turn on and off the load. Now, in this TeSys Island world, okay, we usually use the concept of avatars. That basically is like a recipe that we have some parameters, configurations already to use, and depending on that configuration, then we may have one starter, two starters, three starters, four starters, and also we may have the analog IOs and digital IOs and the voltage interface, and that will depend on the avatar that we use and the configuration on that avatar. Okay, so as you can see here, we have different kind of avatars that will integrate this starter. So for example, we have the application for a conveyor. Then if you use a conveyor, it's going to be one direction, then it's going to be like one contactor, but a starter. Okay, then we have the possibility to use a switch. As a switch, this starts as a switch. So we have one starter. Okay, and then we have for motor load, we have motor one direction, two directions, start delta, two directions. Okay, and here you can see that depending on the selection, I can have one, two, or three starters. Okay, so I just want to let you know that it's more than a contactor. That's why I'm going to show you in some move all different potentials that we have. So for this starter, we have 5 references. Okay, as you can see here on the screen. So depending on the reference and of course the operational current, we have different frames. Okay, so I like to think that TPR stands for TeSys product, then the ST is for starter, and then the 3 digits are for the operational current. Okay, and depending on the operational current, we have different frames for the starter. Now, this is going to be almost the same for all of our products in the TeSys offer, TeSys Island offer. So in the top, we have the upstream connection. If you have the GB2, you can have the connection to that. Then you have the ribbon cable that allows you to connect into the bus coupler, into the bus coupler or the complete TeSys Island, one next to the other. Let me just show you. This is not the starter part. This is the ribbon cable. So each module have next to it, you have this cover, the possibility to connect another one. It's going to be over there, so you just need to plug the ribbon, and then you will have the complete communication. Now we have some LEDs status, so depending on the status of the LEDs, we have the possibility to know what's going on. Okay, here we have the possibility to see as a standard contactor if it's closed and open. Okay, so you can see it. Then we have the QR code that basically go to some information about the starter, know what it's reading, just the documentation, and then the downstream to connect the motor to the load. Now, here you can see that a full definition of different behaviors that we have with the LEDs. So, for example, I have next to me have these 4 starters. So as you can see, they are blinking. So that indication will give us what's really happening. Okay, and depending on what's really happened, we can identify what is the problem, if it's trip or if it's an alarm or it's something, without using the software. Of course, if we want further information, then we must use the software. Okay. So for example, in my case, it's flashing green, so the contactor is open. Okay, the internal part is open. Okay, and flashing green, upstream voltage, no upstream voltage, and it's okay because I don't have anything upstream. Okay, so here we can identify what's going on. Now, how we can add these things? Okay, so basically we just need to open SOMove, and once we open SOMove, just move myself a little bit down, there we go. So once we open SOMove, then we should be able to see the TeSys island over there. If we don't see it, it means that you don't have the DTM. So this is what happened. So if you don't see the TeSys island over there to add, then you just need to install the DTM, and the DTM is free, also SOMove, so use it. Now, how we can add this starter? So as soon as you open the SOMove, let me just open SOMove. It's open, I don't know which window. Okay, so as soon as you open the configuration, the program, then you should be able to add the bus coupler is going to be the TeSys island. So create project offline, TeSys island, create. Take a few seconds. Then you should be able to see what is inside your island. In your case, as soon as you pop up, you're going to have the communication part, which is the bus coupler. Then here we just need to go to my avatar and add the avatar that we want. Here you can see that we have device, load, and application. Okay, so if we go to device, switch, it will add the starter. Okay, then later you should be able to see that we have seal starters, okay, for safety. So it's going to be the same one, but in red with a seal interface. But I'm going to display that in the future. Okay, so here you have different loads also, motor one direction, add load, and let's see, star delta, motor one direction, star delta. You can see here in this recipe that we have, it adds 3 starters. Okay, and depend on the rating that we're going to control, the load that we're going to have, it change the starters. Okay, so that's something that you need to know. Okay, so along with this, for example, if we go to motor one direction, if we specify to use load energy monitoring, the system will add this voltage interface. Then if we want us to have a temperature sensor, then we have this. It will add all the configuration that we have. Local control, yes, and it will add the digital I/O. You probably don't see it. It adds a digital I/O over here. Okay, so here we have our recipe, and this is the configuration that is going to be downloaded to the bus coupler. So if we go back to my island now, you're able to see that the emptiness is vanished, and we have different modules. Okay, something important here is that even if you have those modules, doesn't mean that the module is an avatar. Okay, so the avatar will give you the configuration of which are the modules that you're going to use. So let's go back here. So something important here in the selection is that not all the different device, load, and application may have the starter. Okay, it may have a power interface, you can display that later, or a seal interface. Okay, seal starter. Okay, so basically the one that have the helmet, the safety helmet, is the one that use the starter but in red. Okay, something important that you may know. And here is the configuration. I explained that with switch, motor one direction, different things that we may have. Okay, and depend on these settings, it will add things. But also depend on the load that you are working with, you may not have the, for example, the low energy or the temperature sensor. Okay, so you need to be very careful when you design this. So for example, if you're going to use a switch, the switch doesn't have this part. Okay, so probably you will need to use motor one direction or a different one. So depend also on the avatar, this recipe that we have selected. We have different things in order to set. So if we go back here, the settings, you have here the just wait for it. On the switch, you have the electrical protection, and that's it. So you have current phase loss, ground current detection, current phase imbalance, phase reversal. But if we go to motor one direction, okay, we have more things. Okay, you have the possibility to use control mode. So you will add a digital IO, the one that I add. Then you can use local control or remote control. So you don't need the PLC to just make the switches, for example, and then you just turn it on. Have thermal protection, motor overheat. This will depend if you add on the avatar this, the temperature sensor. Otherwise, it will be banished. Okay. Electrical load protection. Okay, you have more things. So depend on the recipe, we have also different options. So let's continue with the presentation. Don't want to miss something. So add, let's use the pen. So create motor one direction, start the power supply. I didn't add it, but we can add it. So motor one direction, power supply. Okay, have low energy, local control, and it will add the things that we may have. Okay, so it's gonna be the same. Check the configurations, check the avatars. Let's check the avatars. So power supply, electrical protection, load protection. And you can see here, it has different thing to the load protection. Okay, so depend on the recipe selected, you will have different options related to the load. Okay, that's why when we think about this TeSys Island, it's not like a motor management solution, it's a load management solution. Let me see if I forget about something. Add motor one direction and check the configuration and local. Okay, so as I show you, this is what I meant by adding this. It will add different things. It will add the different models. So if we check this out, it will delete or add the model as I show you here on my avatar. I export it. So here, load management, low energy, it just vanish. And if I uncheck this, it will vanish, and then I can select OK. If we go to my island, it will delete some of those. So if we go to my avatar again, switch, motor one direction, no, no, and no, you should be able to see there is no additional IOs. Okay, so how we can communicate with this device. So some register in order to turn on and off the load. We have this third-party function block guide. So basically, depending on the protocol that you're using, it allows you to access to the information. And this is just to show you, depending on the avatar selected, you have different amount of starters. So for example, if you use motor one direction, conveyor one direction, pump, it will add the starter. If you're using two directions, so you in the traditional way, you just have two contactors. Here, you just have two starters. In this one, start delta, you have this two speed levels and forward reverse, and forward and reverse for start delta. So depending on the avatar selected, you have more things, and this is just a summarize of the different things that we have. So for example, if we want to connect to this, we just need to get the address 8501 and then check on the bits in order to run or stop the load, depending on the avatar selected. Okay, but further information is on that third-party function block if you don't want to use our PLCs. Okay, so let's have a look to what I have. Let's connect and load. You should read all that. Yes, I'm going to override. Yes, no worries. So I'm going to connect to that, to this one, to these starters. So this is the configuration, and then now I'm going to show you that I can force this. So you should be able to see over here, see one over here, this one, that is going to close. So if I force this, you cannot barely see it, but you just need to trust me, it's close. Here you can see further information on the diagnostic when you are connected that you don't have the energy over there. Okay, and let's see if I use this one, if I can, you can see it properly. I believe you can see it. I can barely see it. Let's take a look on this one. You should be able to see now this hide. It's back. Not apply. So in order to access to this thing, okay, what you can do is to use, for example, a PLC and get access to the information. So I'm going to use mod scan in order to simulate that I'm using a PLC. Okay, so as I mentioned before, 8502, I believe I need to add 1. Okay, the device ID will depend on the location. Okay, so the first one is going to be 0, the unit ID, the second one, the 1, 2, and so on. So if I want to use the third one, number 3, connect, read the information, and then I'm going to turn on this. Number 3, there we go. So you can see that I'm reading this device. So if I put this off, there we go. So this is one way to easily, in this case I'm using Modbus TCP, but if you can use Ethernet IP or another one to make it work also. Okay, exit force mode, read the data that you need. Okay, so using this one to read information from the avatar is done. So in this video I show you some of the qualities or features that we have with the starter. So it's not just a contactor, it provides a lot of information, and there is another video I have done with the comparison between the traditional way using DOL and this way using TeSys, and you have further information over there. In this case I just want to show you the starters, the different starters that we have, how to add the starters and the avatars on the TeSys configuration, and how to connect and easily check that you have something over there. Okay, so thank you very much for watching this video, and I see you on the next one.